I'm between jobs now, but it was not a tragedy. I got hired 2 days later to something even greater, more pay, better benefits. I don't have to start until near the end of February. So guess what that means, fellas? Just like everybody else, we've got all the time in the world.
All the precious things love has in store. We have all the love.
We most certainly do. This is Gray Fox 37.
223.
Earth Base 76.
012 Boku.
Wow, you didn't actually do a crazy intro for yourself this time, Arden.
Are you okay?
I know I'm suffering from a crippling case of normalcy today.
The gang's all here today, yet again, doing that Lethal Weapon 4 line there for the tagline. And today, we're basically going to just do some quick stuff about... oh yeah, there you go, there's Hawk. We're going to do a little quick, a quick couple of updates for you there before we get to our main topic, which is basically going to be what's going on in Richmond today. So... kind of a few updates. Pikachu is obviously back from Phoenix, and basically is just rip-raring to go. We're going to be doing our wonderful RP today, and watching some more Twin Peaks. Compliments of Boku and his wonderful household. Basically, I don't want to go too much into it, but unfortunately I got laid off from work, but 2 days later I got hired by a company I'm going to be getting better pay and benefits, so nice little life event there. Car had a little bit of a scare, but fortunately it's only going to be about $170 repair, which is awesome. So we don't have to Uber. We've only had to Uber for 2 days so far, but that'll be a quick fix, fortunately. We're waiting on some tasty Wiener Schnitzel. I want to make Wiener Schnitzel for dinner, so there's that too. I got a new battery charger for the laptop, and unfortunately I need to replace the internal battery.
That's the biggest charger I have ever seen.
Yeah. The good news is, though, that the battery charger basically is not leaking any battery fluid anymore, which is good. So, fortunately, Boku doesn't have to worry about the green decay on his power strip anymore.
Yay!
Yeah. And pretty much been hanging out, playing video games, doing my economics and finances and all that good stuff, and just kind of researching things, and it's been pretty chill. I've done absolutely nothing, and it's everything I thought it could be, to quote Office Space.
Wait a minute, Pikachu. The biggest battery charger you've ever seen, but you can't see.
I know!
You lied to me!
We're going to call it...
You lie!
That's the make break.
She's like Toph from the second volume of Avatar. She can see with her feet.
Sure, why
not? So, with all that quick stuff done, let's rotate around. Boku, anything new you want to share?
Anything new I want to share? Let's see, Gray Fox, is there anything new? Nothing too much. Just been getting out there looking for new jobs myself, because Target's hardly giving me any hours. Go 10 hours this week.
So now you know where to dox them.
Yeah. And
we worked so hard, but no, it's okay.
Exactly, and there's been that. In other news, by my friend, my secret friend Jay. So, because I'm pretty sure he probably doesn't want me putting out his name on this thing. Jay is coming down in I guess August.
All right.
That'll be interesting.
It's my birthday month. Nice.
Yep.
And Pikachu's birthday month too. And anything else?
Let's see. No, nothing too much else. Two other things that I want to add, because I know we haven't been able to mention them last time, and I know we've been using them to explain certain things. Sudden Impact is actually another really good movie in the Dirty Harry series that's quite enjoyable. And also, folks, I never knew that in the end of The Enforcer, Harry says before killing Bobby Maxwell, "You fucking fruit to him." That made me laugh hysterically because I'm like, I never noticed that before, and I found that to be fucking hilarious. Man, movies of the 70s and 80s where we didn't have PC shit. Yeah, rock on.
Indeed.
Pikachu?
Oh dear. First of all, I got my sanity back. I've been
That's
with
good.
my parents at their place for about a month and a half now, and it's interesting over there. My mom is a really emotional person. She like freaks out about almost everything, and then there's my nieces and nephews over there, and they're very cute. It's just one of them is extremely loud. A lot of the other ones whine a lot, and I like kids, but I don't want them myself. So it's really nice, like this morning, to go to sleep and, oh my god, I didn't hear the kids this morning. Yay!
So unfortunately, Pikachu obviously has been
Having trouble sleeping
yeah.
because of that. Let's see. My computer is now working again. It was not working for like 2 years, and my friend of mine who I ended up agreeing to date recently is he fixed my computer, so it's now has Windows 10 and it works really good. So
Yeah.
that's nice.
I'll finally be upgrading I'm going to be getting my new computer parts soon. Thanks for reminding me, Pikachu. Sorry. I'll be getting my new computer parts soon and finally updating my desktop to Windows 10. But continue, Pikachu. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, I got a bunch of like new stuff for Christmas, but that's another thing. I can't really think of anything else specifically. That's
Say it into the
so-
microphone.
I think we're good.
All right, and then we already know what Ardith's up to. So anyway, no, I was kidding. Let's do with you, Ardith.
Not much. Holidays were pretty good. I actually got to treat Gray Fox to a free lunch for the first time.
Oh, cool.
It felt so good.
Taco Bell. But it was awesome. I mean, Taco Bell's the shit. So
Well, you
I
know,
gives you the shits, but anyway.
When you're as poor as I am, anything could be considered a lunch related.
It's all good.
That's scary.
But aside from that, after getting rid of my Xbox 360, I've been rediscovering my passionate love for the PS2 and DS. Because, Microsoft, is there anything you cannot destroy? I like
Don't
this.
ask that.
Don't give Sony too much credit there, Art. Because Sony's had their own fuck ups, and they're both equally guilty in my eyes. I love them both, and I hate them both.
I don't, man. I mean, Sony. Sony's just like begging to have the hackers just fuck them all over again.
Well,
but
that or pay attention to us. We're still relevant, please.
Well,
Nintendo's been this underdog to come up from underneath and be like, nobody likes Nintendo. You sure about that, motherfuckers?
Well, them are North Korea. Notice me, Kim Senpai. But like you said, I'm shocked at how much Nintendo is just fucking balling everybody. It's like there's us, and then wait, there's anybody else besides Nintendo? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Sega, Genesis does what Nintendo doesn't. Switch does what everybody doesn't. Nintendo wins the war yet again.
While they're talking, I'm already finding some great juicy bits here, especially that cunt Shannon Watts. She unblocked me apparently, but anyway,
Wow.
Dynasty Warriors 3 was really great to play on the PS2, and I loved it how our newest roommate, of course, brought down his PS3, and I loved how basically I could play PS2 games on it, playing Dynasty Warriors 2, and then like Medal of Honor, Frontline and everything. Again, it's been so fucking awesome. I love it.
Like over the holidays, I picked up Devil May Cry 3, and God, I fucking love that
There's
game.
really good music.
Well, I have some great news. Speaking of which, I got my PlayStation emulator working again, so Pikachu's going to be able to play Street Fighter Alpha 3 on it and Battle Arena Toshinden if she wants to as well,
try
because
that one out.
I got the frame rate up on it and things like that, so Mondo's the best character for that. But so we've got some more stuff for Pikachu to blind run, which will be great.
Yeah,
We have some other ideas. They make this game called the Bop It, and
Pop it, twist it, tug
exactly.
it, pull
It tells you what to do.
jerk it off.
So I have one of those, and we'll probably record that too.
The PS2 and PSP versions of Street Fighter Alpha 3 are the best of all time. You can get Guile, Evil Ryu.
Ooh.
All the extras are on the PS2, PSP version.
So we'll finally be able, the PS1 version, Street Fighter Alpha 3 is great because you can even do a leveling system in it and just build your character up to get stronger attacks and whatnot.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's. I was disappointed when the 30th anniversary came out because they decided to only provide coin-operated versions of the games, and they were basically the 1.0 versions, so it was really, really, really shitty. But of course, I should have expected it considering that they were giving us a shit ton of Street Fighter games with it there.
And, hey, you said you got a PSP emulator, right?
Yeah.
Fun fact for all of you out there who just barely got, a Symphony of the Night on the PS4 for the download store. That's just the PSP version ported to the PS4, and I know this because I had the Dracula X Chronicles.
I also got the Japanese translated version of Symphony of the Night, so fortunately you won't have to hear the "What is a man?"
That's the best part.
If we do a playthrough of that, we need to put that in the video just to show people how bad that part is.
If we do a playthrough of that, basically, I'm going to be doing a long play version of it. It'll probably be I'm going to quote Games Unquick. It'll probably be any percent because I don't know. I haven't conquered that game. I've been around, but I haven't really fully conquered that game, and I'm not super duper good at it. I mean, Bloodstain. Obviously, when I did the blind playthrough and stuff, I kind of started being a damage exchanger and stuff like that. But it's my first time playing through Symphony of the Night. I played a couple times and whatnot, but I don't want to be super embarrassing. Or anything
also
like that.
That's me in any Castlevania games.
Actually, I do because I've gotten 106% on Symphony of the Night.
Oh wow!
Whoa!
Yeah, I know how to get the 106% completion. I can get the 200% also.
Maybe I could play through, and then I'll have Ardith go back and just get everything else because he's he's the man, so that works.
There's also another fun fact about the PSP port. That was the first English translated version of Symphony of the Night where you got to play.
Oh, there's a white woman. Sorry, I'm just reading through this here. All right, so there's Shannon Watts put a video up on her Twitter about the people attending the Richmond rally and stuff. So,
Oh dear.
but yeah, that's pretty much the updates. What's up?
Oh, none.
Oh, that's okay.
I just had my hand up. Sorry.
You're fine. No, don't worry about it, man. So, Happy birthday to Martin Luther King Jr. today. Wait a minute, Nazis are praising Martin Luther King Jr.? No, we're not Nazis, but yeah, we're only Nazis to idiots. But yeah, happy birthday to him, and there's been a lot of great trends on Twitter today. Black Panthers was one of them, which is what I expected, and King's rolling over in his grave, obviously, about that.
Yeah.
But I noticed, today
supported that group.
So today in Richmond, they're basically having a Second Amendment rally going on because of Virginia basically trying to infringe upon it. And I've read through a couple so far, but I'm so glad Shannon Watts decided to post it because her posts are just so juicy and dripping with ignorance that I figured we'd share that first. But there's a hashtag that's floating out. They are called Gun Sense Majority. So basically it goes from gun control now to gun sense majority to common sense gun control. I mean, these people obviously, of course, don't know anything about the Second Amendment. They don't know anything about the gun control acts that were put in place in 1938 or 1968, respectively there. And, they think that, it's for muskets. It's that age-old excuse, which I actually talked to a client once about, which was funny. And I sat there and it's like, there's two things you could say about it. Number one, they already had a 20-round box magazine rifle, the Girondoni rifle, Andrew Jackson, that basically was made in 1779, which is 12 years before the Second Amendment was even ratified. And then number two, they had muskets in mind at the time. Well, our founding fathers didn't expect that freedom of speech was free speech was going to evolve into social media. So, but then people are like, oh, but that's not weapons. That doesn't hurt people. Then why do people say that when you make fun of people? It's weaponized violence. So you see the hypocrisy that's kind of swirling around already with this. This is kind of like the common thing that you see, obviously. And we've mentioned a few things like this before, but reiteration, of course, for today's topic. So we're going to now go down through and just have our little say about these. So we're going to start with the ever so elegant, super duper intelligent Shannon Watts. Blue check mark, by the way, so you know she's super important. What most Richmond rally attendees look like: white, male, middle-aged. So basically being middle-aged is a sin now, obviously. This is why the NRA lost in November, and while they'll fail going forward. Gun extremists don't look like America, and they don't reflect the majority's views. So basically, she thinks that the NRA, I mean, it's so cute when people think that the NRA actually make gun laws in this country. That's the first part I have to say about that. The second part is they think that every gun, gun nut, if you would, or basically gun owner, like me, they think that that we're all NRA members or that we support the NRA. The NRA, ironically enough, infringes upon a lot of Second Amendment ideals anyway, which is really, really funny. So so that's what I'm talking about. These people just don't know what the hell they're talking about. So that's really cute too. Gun extremists, I'm thinking her definition of a gun extremist is more than likely somebody that owns a weapon in hopes that they don't have to use it to protect their family or anything of that nature. So that's probably what we're gathering out of that there. And it doesn't reflect on the majority's view. So you see, these people are speaking on behalf of you, basically, to infringe upon your rights. If you don't want to use a gun, or if you don't want to own a gun, you don't have to. I never encourage people to have to do that. I never force people to take guns. You don't need to take guns. And I'm sure we all feel the same way in that sense there. Let the baby have their bottle, if you would.
Hey, Fox, you know it's a scary thought none of these people even realize, and I swear to God this is true. You can look this up on the Department of Justice website. Absolutely none of the biggest serial killers, murderers, or people who have committed domestic terrorism in this country have been NRA members or even largely gun owners in a lot of cases.
There you go.
Yeah.
And another fun fact, most of our current gun restriction laws are patterned after the ones that were already in place during the time of Prohibition. Yeah, all the shit they're ranting about, that's been in place for quite a while.
Right, and then in 1938 they made the Gun Control Act, which basically took out of people's hands military-grade weapons to begin with. But obviously it's not enough. You see, you keep giving more and more and more of the pie away. They act like that there's never been any compromise, basically. But there's been plenty of compromise. Even up to the 90s there's been compromise. But it just is never enough. I wish these anti-gun people would just be fucking honest and say, we want guns completely abolished. If they say that, but they won't say that, because then at that point it makes it look like they're not compromising, which is the irony of it, because that's what they really, really want.
I want to know what this crazy girl's definition of what America looks like is.
Yeah, I actually forgot to mention that, and that is great. Boy, we didn't even have to ask Pikachu, and she came up with a great question there. That's what I'm wondering too. Well, basically, her ideal is less white people, clearly, less middle-aged people, clearly. Let's go out and let's have STDs and die in our 30s. What about you?
Uber diverse babies.
Sure. Uber diverse babies.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it there, Boku? The rage is burning within him.
No, quite frankly, she's just stupid, and I really couldn't care less to what she has to say for this rally, because her answer to that was completely stupid, and this whole thing just sounds stupid. And
that is an awesome. That is awesome.
I'm
short, but
I'm getting my head hurts just hearing that damn thing from her. And but basically, once again, these rally groups, can they all be just forcefully disbanded, please? Just
that would be nice.
All of you, most of you, yes.
She makes a second point that states armed insurrectionists in Richmond don't even know what gun laws they're protesting. Awkward. The funny thing about it is that some people who are supporters of the Second Amendment, basically, there are some people that don't even really know enough about it, and they don't even know what's at stake, so they don't research well enough before it. But then you can say on the other token that basically these are the same types of people that also don't even know anything about the Second Amendment to begin with, and that fact that they're practically infringing upon it, or they do know and they just don't care, basically.
I heard that statement, and all I could think of was the brain cells are floating away. Oh my
It's like,
god.
look at how many shits about the law we don't give.
Oh wow, there's this new term. Not a whole lot of intelligence among ammosexuals. Oh wow, that's an awesome
Wow.
term.
That's a term?
I guess yeah. I mean, well, it's just like those made-up terms like transphobia and Islamophobia and
Yeah.
things like that. Thinking like everybody is actually afraid of like transgendered people, and it's like quite the contrary. There's a difference between being having contempt for something, being disgusted by something, or just letting somebody be who they want, but not caving into how disgusting it potentially is,
That's
and being afraid.
That's a really good question. Is there a word for that, Len? That means somebody who hates something, or hates, like, for instance, transphobia, someone who actually hates it. Is there a Latin or Greek or whatever based word that you can actually use for that? That actually defines that as instead of, oh, I'm afraid of it?
Is that the food, I wonder?
More than likely it is.
I'll get the door.
Well,
But I'm going to tell you guys something weird, and chances are our listeners aren't going to believe.
That's normal.
Chances are nobody's going to believe this, but I bet you they will never fully outlaw guns or video games, and I will tell you why. Because if they did, what would they bitch about, and what would they promise to do something about in every election cycle?
Good point.
Yeah, they need that shit to exist, because if they actually do something about the problem, and the problem still persists, what are you going to do?
That's a good mention.
Not only that, Art, if we, the people who like them, would bitch about them to bring it back until we got it, so either way, you'd have yes for one way or another.
And the tables would turn at that point, basically. Like, they would be just, I mean, they already call us idiots to begin with, anyway. So. Ooh, poor Hawk, you tell him.
Come here, puppy. Puppy, get over here.
Guys,
don't worry, Pikachu.
our server was a Vietnam vet.
All right.
God.
Thank him for his service.
Yes.
Rock on. Rock on.
Soldier. But yeah, it's like the old saying says, what happens to the noble knight when there are no dragons left to slay?
I'm about to become a middle-aged white guy in a couple of years. Arth's about, 2 years away from that himself, so... Oh, no, wait, well, a year and a half, actually, if you want to go, if you want to be specific. But, I mean, it's true, though. There are some ignorant people that are gun supporters that really don't know enough about the Second Amendment, or they support the NRA just because, it says National Rifle Association in it, and they're a bunch of idiots that just basically feel like, oh, the NRA doesn't infringe upon the Second Amendment. Oh, yes, it does.
That's most our groups and even most our laws in this country. Most people don't even know what half of them do. Heck, I'll even admit to you, I don't even know what most of them do because I haven't taken the time to read most of them, frankly.
Mike GVP says, which of these groups make you feel safer? The top, 2A rights protesters in Virginia today. The bottom, gun owners for gun sense, moms demand volunteers. I'm proud to be a VA resident gun owner and fighting for the gun sense majority in the legislature to pass laws that will save lives. Okay, so you're basically selling out. Okay, gotcha.
That is neither.
Who had the border?
You had the what?
The border.
What?
The border.
That's what it says.
Just kidding. Burger. Hamburger.
Oh, burger? Okay.
Oh.
Oh, you were saying border burger. Okay, Art. Gotcha.
Moms demand action. Now, gun extremists. See, they use these. Ironically enough, I'm going to say it. They use these extreme adjectives basically just to get you on their side. If you're just emotionally driven.
Yep.
Gun extremists have gathered at the Virginia State Capitol in an attempt to intimidate lawmakers out of doing what voters elected them to do: pass common sense gun laws that'll keep our families safe. It's illegal to kill people.
Fritz.
It's illegal. Look how unprofessional we are. We're handing out food during this, but it's all good. But I mean, it's great though. Look how they use these terms. Common sense gun laws. Those are small fries.
Those are
these common sense gun laws. It's already illegal to kill people. What more do you want? Just say that you want guns completely abolished. Just be honest.
Yeah, please. Seriously? Idiots?
See here. Wait a minute. What are these? Sorry, I'm having a butter.
No, you're okay.
Oh no.
Who had the crowd?
Oh,
That was
that's
the-
me, Arda.
Ah, you disgusting, filthy Nazi, you.
I know, right?
Well, I am part German. That doesn't make me a Nazi.
Even though he's blonde hair and blue eyed.
I know, right? That doesn't make you Aryan, though.
Remember Gray Fox? We always had a friend call me that all the time. That,
Yeah, we did. I mean, well, I was just joking. Yeah, right.
that did annoy me after a while.
Yeah, what the hell?
Mara Gorman says, today I #stand with Virginia as I make calls encouraging those who support sensible gun legislation to let their legislators know we encourage civil dialogue in the face of vitriol and threats.
That one's mine.
So they're saying that is this chick implying that responsible gun owners are threatening people?
Yes.
Is that is that what she was replying? I mean, there's some people out there that are crazy enough to go that far, but is that what she's overall implying?
Well, let me put it in ways that she says it. So you're threatening people, Gray Fox? That's interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Oh,
I mean, even though I just,
my little brother and my dad are too.
yeah, I mean, and it's interesting because I earlier said you don't have to own a gun, and I'm not going to force anybody to own a gun or anything of that nature. You know, it's just like you can believe. I mean, guns are violent. You know, guns are violent. Guns kill people. You know, that's why you have a gun, basically. Until something better comes along and stuff that's, more effective, that's why you have a gun in the first place. You know, there's a lot of sick and scary people out there.
Balloon guns.
Balloon guns, there you go.
Guns don't kill people. Antifa members and Hillary Clinton kill
Well,
people.
Antifa doesn't kill anybody because they're too cowardly. Well, at least in America. In Europe, they've killed some people, but in America, no. They're just basically, they just beat up innocent old people
Yours,
that are white.
No, I didn't get those this time.
That's another thing. I just love it where people are all saying like, "Oh yeah, white people are so under attack." I just was. When you say that, it's like I just was, and I love it how they just go out there and state that. It was kind of like that Uber driver I had. That was quite a story, but that's for another story basically.
Yeah, that's why you need to pull out your gun and yell at it every morning.
I've yelled at my gun consistently to hop off the table and shoot somebody, but it doesn't do it, I don't know. I mean, like, do you think I should take it back to Italy or something?
Sure, yeah, you need to go tell them it's defective.
I mean, I don't know how many times I have to crack that joke, but I mean, why not, basically?
Oh, that one, yeah, that's one.
Ethan Summers says, I'm a gun owner and I've managed to avoid becoming a racist, a fascist, a white supremacist, a violent extremist. These gun owners failed at that.
You had me and then you lost me. What the hell? That guy has his wires.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Wait, is this yours?
Yes, I think so.
That's the snake biting its tail. Anyway.
Yeah, that looks like a picture.
So, guys, this is gold.
What's up,
Ethan Summers says, I'm a gun owner and I've managed to avoid becoming a racist, a fascist, a white supremacist, a violent extremist. These gun owners failed at that. We need to raise the standard for gun ownership.
I thought I ordered two.
And I read it, nobody listened.
Yeah.
Sorry, Great Fox, for figuring.
Do I need to whistle at you or something?
And the guy's wearing a flak jacket, basically, in the picture.
Wow.
So basically, I like that. I'll take straw man accusations for $500, Alex.
That's funny.
I don't get it.
You know what? Let's just have a chat. How you doing, Pikachu?
Okay. Kind of hungry.
The food's in front of you.
I know. I'm not sure I should eat during the...
You can eat if you want to.
Great
It's
Fox,
okay.
do you have the corn dogs and the hamburger?
Yes, I had the hamburger, the corn dogs, and the medium fries.
Okay.
Because I'm a fat sack of crap.
Yes, you are!
There we go.
No, I actually haven't ate junk in a while, so... Alright, thank you very much there. And these are small fries. Oh no, these are medium, never mind. Okay. Now we're good.
Wait, mustard dog is mine?
Wait, you got some junkyard thing, Boku, and then you got your...
the which we have. Ardep gave that to me, but I guess Ardep had his
2 chili dogs.
messed up.
Yeah, the chili
Really?
ones.
Unless you gave them to Pikachu.
That's possibly what I'm gonna check these.
No, those are the pretzel dogs.
Are you sure?
Hers are pretzel buns, so...
Hers the first one, yeah.
Yeah, hers are the pretzel buns.
Yeah, because Ardep's got his chili fries, but we have one extra hot dog with mustard.
I get them.
Interesting.
I think they used the pretzel bun on this one too.
So,
Oh
What the hell?
this is a great straw man here.
They fucked up.
I'm going to say it for a third time. Sorry, guys. Ethan Summers says, I'm a gun owner and I've managed to avoid becoming a racist, fascist, white supremacist, violent extremist. These gun owners failed at that. We need to raise the standard for gun ownership. And the dude's just wearing like a gold hoodie and a flak jacket. That's a pretzel bun you're biting into. Oh. Check your other dog there, Pikachu. Yeah, I think they fucked up the order.
Yeah, that one's a pretzel one too.
Oh wow, so they completely fucked up the order.
Oh, lame.
That's
Yeah.
lame.
No, not completely. I did get my chili cheese fries.
So, what I'm gathering from this post is, if you wear a flak jacket and Ray-Ban shades or backwards hats or hoodies or anything of that nature, or even beanies, you're apparently a racist and fascist now. I mean, that's quite a straw man reach there. Quite a straw man reach.
I thought if you were that back in when I was a kid, you were considered gangsta.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
You know what? You know what I think of whenever I see someone wearing like a backwards cap or a hoodie? I think of that Offspring video, Pretty Fly for a White Guy. Honest to God, that's like the first thing that comes to my mind. If you're wearing like a hoodie or a backwards cap, I think, oh, you're an
He
Offspring
makes up
fan.
in denial.
Well, I mean, either that or you really like Jeff the Killer in those creepypastas. One or the other, because they all wear them.
Karamoe, who I can't even tell if it's a man, a woman, or both, basically states, white gun extremists. See, it's all, you see, apparently we're the racists, but look how color is just coming into this over and over and over.
Well, I was gonna
Let me
say,
read it. White gun extremists and white supremacists gather in Richmond to instill fear. What the fuck are you doing? Moms demand members across the USA are phone banking VA residents and connecting them to their elected officials. Activism is greater than extremism. So walking out and marching around with it like your AR-15 but not shooting it is extreme? Holy shit! What were you saying, Boku? I'm sorry.
well, it's like clearly, there's something wrong with that because if you remember when we saw that You Can't Stop Progress 2 weeks ago, there was that group of what looked to be black people jumping up and down with guns shouting into a camera, and they say white folk are violent.
Yeah, I'm confused.
White.
Also, notice how one of them also had a drum magazine attached to their Glock,
Yeah, that's
which is
totally
illegal.
not violent.
Yeah.
and totally not
exactly.
illegal. Yeah.
You know what I love about these people, and Fox kind of already mentioned this? I love how they're always the first people to say, oh, it's not about race, it's not about gender.
Of course not.
But whenever the narrative turns to violence, white extremism. Hypocrisy much? Anybody take philosophy or ethics in college? Oh wait, I forgot, you're all gender studies majors. Never mind.
They just need to take a common sense class. Oops,
I
they
just
failed.
told him or her or whatever that it's a racist, basically.
That is a racist.
Heather red-shirted demanding, we won a gun sense majority in Virginia on November 5th, and no extremists will take that away. See, look at these
What are you
terms.
talking about?
Look at these terms. We'll have gun safety laws passed in 2020. You've already, there's so... Okay. Washington, D.C. is in the vicinity of Virginia and Maryland, obviously, on the border. Washington, D.C. has the strictest gun control laws in the country, but they are one of the most violent districts in the country, too. These people don't fucking get it.
I want to see a big name reporter do a piece about the actual gun control laws right now, and see how people react.
It's an actual reporter. It's like trying to find a needle in a
Yeah,
haystack.
good luck with that. You know what I mean? Like a big name one.
You know what's another funny thing they never bring up? You know how they always get up in arms whenever Grand Theft Auto releases a new game or Mortal Kombat? Those are the most peaceful and quiet times in the country. There have been multiple studies around the world showing that when violent video games get released, crime rates drop a lot. The more violent the game, the more the crime rates drop. And you know what's another funny thing?
Because they get to do it in make-believe.
Yeah, exactly. They have a safe place where they can act out on these emotions without hurting real people. But here's the other funny part that no one talks about. We as a society only talk about the problems in our society, especially violence, whenever there's a violent video game. So they're doing more good than anything else because we only talk about this shit when there's a violent video game that be sold.
And I'll be blunt and I'll use that name. Basically, ooh, bless you, Boku.
Thank you very much.
Violent video games were basically boomer Republican scares that were put upon parents to get them to stop like getting those games. The parents basically just need to teach the child the difference between right and wrong, fantasy and reality, and whatnot. Megan says, we plan to play date for our kids this afternoon so we can make phone calls to Virginia voters. The rally may be over, but Moms Demand volunteers are still here and still working for gun safety. Yeah, just admit you want them abolished.
Yeah.
Shannon Watts posts again. Polling shows 40% of Virginia gun owners want stronger gun laws and only 10% want them loosened. Juxtapose this with Richmond extremists and NRA lobbyists who want guns for anyone, anywhere, anytime, no questions asked. Well, to be fair, the Second Amendment basically says shall not be infringed. That's what they're basically stating there for. There's already a lot of places put in effect. Some people will try to state like gun show loopholes. I went to a gun show once and I basically asked about that with a dealer, and they basically said, thanks. They basically stated no, you still have to fill out things. You still have to fill out things. We're not going to give it to you on day one. That's That's basically, it's just such a common myth that people have, but you won't find that on Google. But he said you can purchase it and have it on reserve, but you have to pass the background check first before we can actually allow you to have it. And I was like, oh, okay. So I couldn't get a gun at a gun show right away.
You want to hear something?
Go figure.
You want to hear something hilarious related to gun control laws? The old anime Gunsmith Cats actually has a better understanding of American gun control laws than most of our politicians and current citizens do. Okay. In the anime, they actually have an agent from the ATF walk up to Vincent Rowley and notice all the...
Rowley Vincent?
Yeah, Rowley Vincent. Ask her, about all the fine premium military grade weapons she has, and does she have a class 4 license for them? It's like, oh, don't...
Class 3.
Oh, yeah, class 3. It's like, don't leave, Miss Minnie May. I want to know where you got the permission for all those explosives you're keeping in the refrigerator.
Okay, that's class 4. Yeah.
But I thought it was hilarious. The guy who does that anime is a gun nut, and you can tell, with all of his works, how...
And he loves cars, too.
Yeah, that's why he set the show in Chicago, was because he wanted to have a place where he could have guns and good cars.
Great jazz music, too.
Little fun fact about anime, kids, they know more about guns than you do. And your parents and politicians, apparently. Plus, Raleigh Vincent's a badass.
So, ultimately, if that poll is true, 40% of Virginia people are retarded, basically. That's what it's stating there. 10%, I'm kind of wondering, what direction they're trying to go with. If it's strictly just shall not be infringed, I get it. But, I'll say this. Citizens don't need class 4 or class 5 weapons, like explosives and whatnot, because obviously that's going to cause much, much more chaos. But, I do wish that we had access to class 3 weapons, not because I want to gun people down or anything, but just more so that I really, really, really love, when I go to Battlefield Vegas and fire class 3 weapons, I'd love to just have one on standby, go to a shooting range and just shoot at inanimate objects. It's a great stress reliever and it's fun. It's a lot of fun there.
I'll tell you something ironic.
Huh.
My sister, who's one of the biggest liberals I've ever seen, voted for Hillary and all that crap, she loves guns.
That's funny.
One time she got super stressed out after my dad died, so she went to California, and one of my mom's cousins, she has a husband who's a political refugee from China. He took her to a shooting range, and he said she had the time of her life, and that she's also a damn good shot, too, which makes me a little worried, but...
Yeah.
It's kind of funny, she's like the biggest anti-Trumper, the biggest Hillary should have won, the biggest gay rights, blah, blah, blah. Love
What
guns.
rights do they not have?
I don't know.
Exactly. It's like, for all this white male privilege I have, I wouldn't mind having some of that goddamn gay privilege.
Yeah, no kidding. I wouldn't mind having affirmative action.
I mean, heck, I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry basically had an entire movie about that shit.
I wouldn't mind having affirmative action, but I'm glad I don't, because basically my accomplishments are based off of my merit, not the color of my skin. So there you go. Natasha Jasso Smith says, in honor of Virginia rally, I'm posting a picture of my powerful weapon from last November. I used this weapon to flip House District 28 and join the gun sense majority in Virginia. Don't tread on my vote. And it's basically this flag that says "We the People" and everything. Well, considering that we the people are, kind of divided right now, I wouldn't say kind of. We're absolutely divided right now. It's not really a weapon, and she's lying, obviously. She wouldn't flip jack shit. Marine YM, hi there, your friendly neighborhood Moms Demand volunteer calling to reach you out for Virginia legislation gun sense majority and encourage them to pass background checks and red flag laws. So do you guys know what a red flag law is?
Oh, yeah.
Remind me again.
If a neighbor or somebody you know has reasonable cause to think that you're going to be disruptive with your weapons, that they can basically call the cops on you and have your guns taken away.
Oh, that, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically...
They have in Washington. This is really scary stuff. If you piss somebody off, now this is fascism. If you piss somebody off and you have no ill intent or anything like that, cops will come over and take your weapons away. And then before you go and say that's never happened before, Great Fox, if you look it up on Google, there was a guy that had no mental disabilities, had no problems and whatnot, and he had his guns confiscated because he was firing them in his backyard on inanimate objects. They took them away.
Here's the scary thing about those.
I've heard this red flag before, because you were telling me about it.
The red flag laws are just basically way more advanced and intrusive search and seizure laws, which have already been on the books, but this time they could do way more with it. And the worst part is they can do it for almost any reason. You could just say you know what, I know this person has guns, they might have a few issues, they might have a bad family life, I don't feel safe in my own home.
Right.
Bam, your guns are gone.
Yep.
And they can do whatever they want with it. They can sell it for money, they can use it themselves.
Doctors, when you go to the doctors, they'll ask you if you have a gun in the home and stuff like that. And if you say yes, even if you're sound of mind, they'll still find a loophole around that, basically, if they feel like you're a danger or a threat or anything. And I sit there, it's I'm not suicidal and I don't have any rage to gun anybody down or anything of that nature and whatnot. And there's a ton of other people out there that are the same way, basically. But this is just terrible.
This will make you happy, and this is actually quite relevant.
And we already had background checks anyway, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's kind of funny you mentioned doctors and guns. Do you remember Richard Carmona? Oh, this is going to be good. Richard Carmona used to be a bit of a doctor, paramedic, EMT here in Arizona, who later, I believe, became the Surgeon General under Barack Obama. Now, why is this relevant? Well, he used to like to carry guns around a lot. And he's actually killed someone with them, even though he's not supposed to be carrying one. And he's also arguably the second most discredited U.S. Surgeon General outside of C. Everett Koop.
That doesn't surprise me, all things considered.
He's also considered to be one of the biggest asshole doctors Arizona has ever seen. And guess which city he used to live in?
What?
Tucson.
I was about to say Tucson.
Yep, and she's also apparently on good terms with Janet Napolitano, who's kind of been Barack Obama's fuck buddy for a very long time.
Do you know what the irony of all these posts are? These people in our country really want to turn us into a militant state. They want to give all of the arms to the military and all the arms. I mean, of course, the police and the military need arms, obviously, but they want to turn all the power over to where they only have it. But they don't realize that in turn, what they fight against, which is what they feel we're in, is it right now is a militant state. They don't realize that we're going to become more of one. I mean, if you even really want a Nazi policy put in place, when you disarm innocent, responsible people, you're treating them like the Jews, basically, because that's what Hitler did in Germany, was disarm the Jewish so they wouldn't be able to fight back. So basically, it's we're going to disarm anybody. Oh, you're responsible with your gun and everything. I don't care, And it's like that. And I love it when people mention background checks. Everybody gets background checks. You can't get a gun right away anywhere. Well, I take that back. you go into like underground sales or like through black market or buddy and things like that, transfer of ownership and everything like that. That's usually what criminals do. They don't register the serial number or anything like that. So that's pretty much what criminals do, because they don't obey laws. So, but we have to pity them and feel bad for them, of course.
Apparently.
Or, of course, whenever you're protecting your home with a gun, you're protecting his property. That's all you care about. Yeah. I don't care about the lives in my home. It's just my property. Yeah.
Yeah, another interesting fact these kids are not being told, along with a lot of other ones. You know that guy, Mr. Beto, hell yes, I'm taking your AR-15s? Mm-hmm. Arrested for armed robbery before he became a politician.
That's funny.
Gosh, I wonder why he wants to get rid of AR-15s.
No.
There was a woman who called him out on it, too.
He's out of the race anyway, so it doesn't make a difference. He's just a piece of shit.
No wonder he called himself Beto O'Rourke.
Indeed. Ooh, good one there, Bogo.
Makes sense now with what you said there, Ardeth.
Larissa,
He's channeling his inner Don Rickles right now.
this burger's good. Larissa FX states, I'm a Mom's Demand volunteer from Jersey in solidarity. I love it when people say solidarity. I guess it's a Jersey thing. With all the Virginians who elected a gun sense majority to pass gun safety laws that a majority of Virginians support. We won't be intimidated by gun extremists. We won't be intimidated. Yeah, well, we're not going to be. So you're going to be the intimidators. Okay, that's real peaceful, stunning, and brave. Yeah.
I love how these people talk exactly like that guy from Young Turks do. It's like, I'm a fighter. I'm not going to run.
Oh, Seneca.
Yeah, unless of course somebody asks you about your stance on how the Armenian genocide never happened. In which case, well, we got other things to focus on.
Right.
Yeah, so stunning and brave.
Yeah.
That guy is just such a tool. Him and I just love how even the lady where he. Yeah, I told you he's running for Congress, right?
Yeah. You texted me that.
This whole posting thing needs someone to say point of privilege.
But I love how he goes to like the white lady right in front of him. It's like, I'm going to be busy focusing on my campaign, so effective immediately, you're going to be in charge of like the site until while I'm doing this. I'm thinking to myself, yeah, but when you lose, it's back to business as usual, right? And I love how the first thing she does is like, I'm in charge now? Well, would you like to clarify your stance on the Armenian genocide? I'm not even joking, that happens.
That's really sad.
California mom calls BS, says, whose side are you on? Extremists who hide behind their camo armed to the teeth and care more about their guns than our lives. See? Look at this projection! Look at this gaslighting projection! Our lives, or the moms demand mothers and others who are fighting for a better world for our kids and aren't hiding behind all this bullshit! Right?
Yeah.
Indeed.
See, they always hide behind the shield of children.
Yeah.
Every single fucking time.
You know what we should...
Oh my god, I demand that you make it much safer for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know what someone should do? I want them to like take photos of like all these people who attend these peace rallies in the name of their children, find out who their kids are, and then interview their kids and ask them, how does your mom treat you when you're at home, Yeah. How much care does she show you when the cameras aren't around? Mm-hmm. Somebody needs to do that, because I know they're probably going to be like, she doesn't give a shit unless like all the protesters are here.
Of course.
It's like, I only get to eat when mommy's using me for her protest meat shield.
Ooh.
Yep.
Because that's going to happen, man. It's going to be like 100% of those kids going to be like, you promise mommy won't hit me if I talk to you?
Right? Or it's like, here's a shiny new toy, wear the gay flag.
Exactly, like that amazing Desmond kid.
Oh, God.
Oh.
Child abuse.
When I'm at home, my sister
To the
watches that RuPaul Drag Race, and I'm thinking to myself, why don't they have amazing Desmond on? Isn't he so amazing?
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when this used to just be, like a fad, like something trendy.
Yeah.
Now, it's become political.
Unfortunately.
I mean, I remember video games used to be for losers, and then now all of a sudden everybody does it, especially thoughts. And now, what's even worse about it is that, they're just, sorry, I'm talking with my mouth open, or full. Now what's even worse about it is that they're just implementing these bullshit identity politics into games now, and they're not even becoming fun anymore. Or they are fun, but the plot you see basically is here's that. I mean, sorry, the plot. I knew I was going to be the first one to do it.
No worries, Fox.
The first was going to be basically. I mean, the plot of it was going to be bad, and then of course you're just sitting around being like, where the hell are all the? I mean, where's the diversity? I don't even see any white people. That's the right thing. Looking at you, Division 2. Let's see if there's anything else juicy. So I laughed at this person. I said, "What a projection." So let's see here.
You know what I love about all this hoopla about women wearing skimpy armor in video games and all that shit? Which, by the way, they bitched about in the Monster Hunter Iceborne review on IGN. I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, I'll let you bitch about women wearing skimpy armor having unreal expectations for their proportions. But what about the men, What about Chris Boulder punching Redfield? What about all the guys who are built like WWE wrestlers?
Yeah.
Their only purpose for living is to protect and defend all the women in their lives. They don't give a shit what's coming at them. That is the only thing they're there for. What about poor Mario, He busts his ass fighting those god-powered Bowser and all the Koopas, and all he gets is a kiss on the cheek and maybe cake if he's lucky.
Tony Stark 2020 says, I like the part about how the Richmond protesters are so big on states' rights, then come in hordes from out of state to tell Virginia what state laws they should or shouldn't have. People for common sense gun laws are in the majority in Virginia nationwide. Well, the other thing is that basically, if it's going to affect one state, what's to say it's not going to affect others? You have to keep that in mind here, because there's going to be people, it's like we can... Apparently, it's okay to stand in solidarity with foreign countries if it fits your narrative, but if it doesn't, then it's bad. So it's like I said, both sides just have these blame games, and they just point at each other and shout at one another. Well, yeah, it's pretty much what it is. Pretty much what it is there. I'm calling. Okay, I don't. Yeah, whatever you're calling, I don't give a shit. Let's see here. Just kind of scrolling through and taking a look at a few others here. A majority of Virginians want a background check for every gun sale. You're going to get that unless you're a criminal. Support our strong red flag law. That's an infringement. Elected a gun sense majority. We won't let gun extremists... See, it's the same adjective over and over. Many of whom aren't even Virginians. See? So what Tony Stark said before is now going into play. It's only okay to stand in solidarity no matter what side you're on to fit your narrative.
Yep.
Well, going back to what that guy said, what you said, what's to say it won't go to other states? Of course it will. California's been shipping its bad politicians to every state in the Southwest for over 60 years now.
Terrifying.
That's how we got John McCain. He couldn't hack it against Reagan in California, so he came to Arizona. In fact, that's how we also got Fife Symington as well.
Who?
He was one of the governors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he said he was going to run the state like his business. And he did. Into the ground. Thank you, Fife.
Wow.
In fact, almost all of our bad politicians come from California.
So I decided to just reply, if it's wrong for people outside Virginia to support gun owners or control, then stop supporting Iran.
Yeah.
Why not?
Exactly.
I mean, it's common. I mean, it's common sense support control.
They want to take away our guns so they can give them to the Iranians.
I love how a majority of these people are either middle-aged women. See, look, now I'm going to call them out and judge them this way. I love how most of them are middle-aged women or they're cuck males, basically. Mary Wears Pearl says the extremists. The extremist armed militias in Richmond today do not represent the majority of Virginians. I I could care less. If they're not being violent, who gives a shit? Including our gun owners. Many of them aren't even from Virginia. We elected a gun sense majority, and we're ready for them to enact gun safety laws that save lives. Pro-gun activists are worried about losing their guns, and moms are worried about losing their children. Well, if a criminal gets a hold of a gun, and you don't have a gun in your household, and they break into your household with a gun, and you have kids, guess what happens? Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it sucks too. I'll be honest. It sucks that we have to use guns to defend ourselves. You know, I don't want to take a life. I mean, the thing is, though, that I'm ready to if I need to, you know. But at the same time, like if you're breaking into my home and you're brandishing a gun, you're done, you know, because you're a threat.
The sad thing is, most of these problems they bitch about could be solved by just having parents teach their kids common sense. Don't go to
But common sense to them is basically background checks that we already have in red flag state laws, Ardith. So I think we better be careful what we say about that.
And plus, common sense is the excuse now, Ardith. That's rare sense.
Yeah, it's basically there's two reasons why a lot of gun control supporters use the term common sense. I mean, extremists, we already know why, we already said that, but there's two reasons why they say common sense. Number one, they want to make it look like that they're willing to compromise with responsible gun owners, which they're not, obviously, because the reality of it is they want guns completely abolished, and it's like, I'd rather much them say that because then that's honest. The second reason they say common sense is because they want to make it look like responsible gun owners like me don't want to have any compromise, despite the fact that, you know, people who have that knowledge like we do have compromised on several different occasions through legislation. But the bottom line of it is that it's just this fear-mongering where they just want to look like a bunch of hippies that basically believe in peace. But the bottom line is that you can still be a peaceful person and, you know, own something that protects you, but you don't want to use it. I don't kill animals or anything like that. I don't hunt. I love animals, and I'm a gun owner. A lot of gun owners are hunters, but, you know, that's still their privilege to do what they want with that. So it's just these amazing terms that people use to twist your emotions. Now, the right is also guilty of doing that as well. A lot of times, though, they're usually joking a majority of the time for people who don't buy into identity politics or anything of that nature. But the right does a lot of fear-mongering as well. However, a lot of it does also stem from ironic truths, too, which is pretty shocking there. But, you know, again, it's not to deny, though, that both sides are guilty of fear-mongering. I mean, that's just the way it is, unfortunately.
You know what the sad thing is? If they got what they wanted and they abolished all the guns, all the video games, all the anime, it would actually be hell for them because they would have no one to blame. Violence would get worse. People would be even more pissed off.
Well, it wouldn't stop there.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that one conspiracy theory of the chip being put in your brain where the government can end your life at any moment, I wouldn't be surprised if later on, if we, you know, became like kind of like a Logan's Run society. I really wouldn't be surprised.
But here's the really scary part, though. They would be counting on all the Democrats, you know, with who gave them basically the gun-free anime video game paradise to be good rulers. Well, what do you think the first thing people like Hillary and Bernie would do? They would get all their pretty little soldiers with all their big guns and force their laws upon you by force. And there would be nothing you could do. No guns means you can't fight back because as per what Thomas Jefferson said, governments should be afraid of their people. People should not have to be afraid of their governments. And he should know he lived in Britain. That's why him and the Pilgrims left.
You know, a lot of people are just using extremists, armed militias. They don't write our laws. Well, neither does the NRA, you know.
Nope.
I'm just seeing this all over. Shannon Watts is talking about how, like, people are threatening and doxing her. Why are they covering their faces? I've been asking that about Antifa for quite a while, too. So, but here's the other thing, though. Are any of them hurting them or beating them up or anything like that? I haven't seen that yet, you know. But that's kind of like the line there. Plus, a lot of times when you're in, like, military camo and stuff, a lot of times balaclavas are involved. But they're all saying, like, yeah, this is the very definition of terrorist. So I'm gonna go back there. I'm gonna have to go back there, basically. So we can say the same about Antifa.
Yes.
Since they cover their faces and actually hurt people even when unprovoked.
They're a bunch of terrorist thugs.
And the funniest thing is their camouflage is better because it's better adapted for nighttime. Camo is really situational.
It's just, it's so ironic. Just, it's so ironic. Basically, seeing that. I'm going to save that screenshot too.
That's funny.
That's going to be good. Basically, so I'm going to retweet this too. This person just called out Antifa indirectly.
Yeah.
You know what this
while calling militia people in Richmond who are open carrying terrorists. Okay. But anyway, you were saying?
The really scary thing the Antifa kids don't realize is the way they dress when they protest looks exactly the same way the supporters of Benito Mussolini dressed when they were helping to put him in power in Italy before World War II.
Creepy.
And it's the exact same type of attire that the Bolshevik Revolution wore when they removed the Romanovs from power. Every terrorist extremist group that has ever risen to power, all black, faces covered, heads covered, every fucking time. Kind of like Muslim women in their hijabs, am I right?
Yes.
This is great satire here. Bleeding Heart Liberal Marine, and this is a joke, you can tell. We're not trying to take all your guns, we just want the weapons of war being used to kill civilians and mass murders. You can keep the other ones if your penis is that small. So you can tell that was a big joke there, because no real Marine obviously would say that an AR-15 is a weapon of war. So that was a pretty good joke there. So like that. Praying for peace and safety at the Virginia rally today. Well, Antifa's not going to show up, so you're going to be okay. So, extremist militias. Oh man, I'm going to crack that. I'm going to crack that joke. Antifa isn't going to be there. So it looks like
keep all your 9 lives.
It will be safe.
Looks like. Who knows?
Yeah, this is just gold. So. Unfortunately, a lot of this is becoming so repetitive. Extremism, extremists, you name it. Threats of calls and violence and all that junk. I mean, if there are people doing that, which more than likely they are, I mean, it's no different from other people that are doing that when they don't get their way or they cry like a bunch of babies and whatnot. But in this case, I mean, I'll be honest. Ooh, the Colored Conservatives did an MLK event video, so that'll be nice to watch later. But I mean, we'll end it there because it's just starting to become NPC talk, basically.
I thought it became that one after the second tweet, which is why I'll be honest. That's why I didn't talk as much because this.
Yeah, it's pretty much enough said there.
Yeah.
But ultimately, at least we got a laugh from a satire account at the end there. But ultimately, though, it's. What was I going to say? What was I going to say before Boku interrupted me? Don't interrupt again. I was good. But it's just the same terms, same fear mongering. That's what I was going to say. Basically, these people, I mean, threatening and doxing you should never do no matter what the cause is. I do, however, find it ironic that they're doing it over Second Amendment rights basically being potentially infringed. You go to Antifa and it's like they don't even know what the fuck a Nazi is today, basically. They just go after anybody who's white practically and just wail on them at that time. Oh, that's not true, that's not what all of them do. It's called an exaggeration, and that's the thing. It's sad that I have to explain this sometimes to people because I always have to tell people in Facebook chats, hey, he's exaggerating. You just like you guys do, but you try to pass the exaggeration off as a truth rather than an irony. So I mean that's the bottom line with that there. So when I say like all Antifa does that, I know there's some Antifa people that actually give sleeping bags to the homeless and stuff. It doesn't mean that you're a good person, though. You could be a rotten person ruining people's lives and then donate to like a children's fund. It doesn't make up for the fact that the core of your very personality is that you seek delight and torment in people. Now you can easily say the same about us, but it's just like, there's a big difference between cracking jokes about people and then just literally going out of your way to, I don't know, dox and threaten. We don't do things like that. Well, we're going to call it a day here. I think there was. Next. Here's one thing I wanted to talk about that's off topic, real quick. Have you guys? Do you guys know about the? Do you guys know basically about the poll? Basically Pikachu knows. There's a poll out there that states about climate change that states that 97% of scientists, verify that's true. Have you guys heard that phrase used before?
Yeah.
No, because I have never believed in what they've talked about, and I think it's a lot of bullshit.
Well, that's okay.
Hey.
Yeah. We
So,
don't watch it because it's funny.
Do you know? I found this out a month ago. Do you know what the truth of that poll is? It was conducted by a University of Illinois grad student.
Oh, good.
Who? It gets better, Zach. I said it again. It gets way better, Boku. It gets way better. It was conducted by a University of Illinois grad student who
even better.
talked to over 10. Why I said that initially there.
I didn't hear grad
Boy,
student.
you were really out of it today.
Topic I
around between 10 to 11,000 people were asked a question: is climate change real? Yes or no? Out of the 10 to 11,000 people, only 77 of these people are verified experts on climate, meteorology, weather, things of that nature. It's unknown to the other 10,000, give or take, people what their credentials or backgrounds are. But out of that group, that in the 10,000s, they believed in it. So whenever somebody states that 97, 98, 99% of scientists believe this, just tell them, yeah, you're getting your facts basically off of a survey that was done to random people. Only 77 of them are actually known and credited.
Yep.
Yeah. So, like I said, if that doesn't scream climate change is a hoax, or you should at least look into it from a non-biased source, or look into it from an opposing side because everybody, apparently believes in it, that's, if that's not a sign of it being a hoax, I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, ultimately, if you look at every article that's put out there about it, you can tell it's pushing for veganism. And I'm not joking about this. Yeah. Look up the articles that basically have the opinion that we need to become vegans because we're going to lose our commodities of livestock. That it's racist because, people from different countries like Africa and whatnot are going to be flooded, so it's apparently racist. It's just, it's incredible how they're putting in all these buzzwords, basically, all because they know that emotional tarts are basically going to be afraid to be called monsters. So if they don't stand in solidarity with it, I'm going to use that Jersey thing term, if they don't stand in solidarity of what they believe in, they're going to be considered monsters, Nazis, homophobes, transphobes, racists, you name it. It's xylophones, saxophones, you name it. It's really, really scary when people say, this isn't an agenda, this is about saving the world. It's a tax agenda. Mm-hmm. It's a societal agenda. It's an identity agenda. It clearly is. Read the articles that state, not believing in climate change is racist one. And these are, you would think it's a joke. These people really believe this.
Unfortunately,
it's Africa now. I thought it was supposed to be England and Florida.
Yeah, exactly. It changes every single time they come up with a new number.
Emotional tarts to protect intellectual farts. Yeah, why not?
South Park, going back to the guns, South Park had that 100 episode where the boys did the Founding Fathers report and Cartman went back in time to 1776. It's like having your cake and eating it too. We can look like a country that protests going against war, but at the same time goes to war, having your cake and eating it too. And then even Gerald says, yeah, we need guys like you because we could probably be taken over by somebody, maybe even China and whatnot. So you see what I'm talking about? That was at least compromise that two, right-leaning guys basically came up with for it. But you're never going to see that again today. And this was back at the time of during the Iraqi war. And what's so funny is when you compare the protests against the Iraq war compared to like what a lot of people are protesting today, not a whole lot's changed except you see more trannies basically, but not a whole lot has changed. And it's really funny. I was actually part of a Marine protest at a Marine recruitment center in Berkeley, and the San Francisco State president of the Republican President's Club in San Francisco State basically got chased down by a bunch of protesters there, and they were going to wail on him. When the police came by, I actually saw a girl break down in tears because she wasn't able to basically commit street justice against an innocent person, and was saying, "We're just kids!" So you see, the whole thing, it's a true story, I'm not kidding. The whole thing about shielding behind kids has been going on with Democrats for years now. They hide behind David Hogg. You can't insult them, they're just children. You can't arrest them if they go after somebody they don't like and want to beat them. We're just kids! It's not a joke. Well, you could turn it into a joke, but it's not a joke, and it's not, I can't stand it when people lie and say, "Oh, we're not coming for your guns. Oh, white people aren't under attack. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, affirmative action isn't racist. Oh, nobody." Wrong! It's bullshit. It's bullshit. All of it. When you say that, it's total. You're lying to these people. They live in these bubbled worlds. It's just like, oh, there's no gun violence out there. No home invaders. You live in suburbia, don't you? Yeah. Okay,
maybe not.
Enough said.
That's why Democrats were instrumental in getting rid of parents using capital punishment to discipline their kids, because now they're even more effective meat shields for the politicians. Yeah, you can't smack a kid, you can't discipline them. Well, guess what? That also means you can't do anything if they act up.
My folks live in a very rich neighborhood in Vegas called Enterprise, and let me tell you something. They got robbed. They weren't home, they were on vacation, but they got robbed. A person came in and stole my dad's Notre Dame class ring, all my mom's jewelry, which also came from and was inherited from my grandmother, God rest her soul. It's her 1-year anniversary this month. And they took my mom's bras and panties and my dad's boxers and stacked them into a pyramid in the middle of their room. And it's not just like digging through. They took the time to stack their clothes in a pyramid shape in the middle of their room. Not a lump, not like a mound or anything. They made a pyramid. Mom took a picture of it too. And I sat there and I'm just like, and so I talked about it. I talked about it with a client who was from Vegas, and she told me, "Oh my God, I live in Spring Valley, which is north of Enterprise, and that happened to me too. There's like it's like a mini crime waves going on, and they stacked my clothes in the shape of a pyramid." And I was like, I guess that's their calling card, like the Wet and Sticky Bandits or something like that. We're the Pyramid Band, there we go. We're the Hebrew Bandits. But you see, my folks have a Taurus G2 pistol, shitty pistol, but they've got a gun now. They have a 45 ACP gun now, and they live in suburbia. They've been robbed before. It doesn't matter. Sometimes, statistically, you're less likely to be robbed in suburbia than you are in the ghetto. But bottom line, though, is that anybody can get robbed at any time. Heck, we almost had a run with somebody who thought that we were stupid enough to let him in. "Oh, I'm being chased. He let me in. I was about to get beat up." You've got a phone, and he's holding a cell phone. You got a cell phone. Call the cops and whatnot. And it's a rough neighborhood. Well, it's not a really rough neighborhood. We live in a semi-rough neighborhood, and I'm not stupid enough to let somebody in like that, because here's the other thing. It turns out he wasn't even wearing any shoes. Then all of a sudden he fled the cops. I listened in on the police radio. He fled the cops. He fled the cops and was trying to get away after I called him out. He was banging on everybody's doors. I called the cops on him. And he fled from the cops. It's like if you've got a phone, what you do is, the office was still open at the time too. That was the other thing. You go into the office and you basically do your thing there and whatnot, but they got cameras there. They got cameras. Oh. But a legit person wouldn't care about that and be like, "I just got chased down. Can I call the cops in here?"
Yeah.
Plus, also, why do you have a cell phone and no shoes and socks?
Exactly. Oh, they might have, and there's a possibility he might have been beaten up for it. But when I listened on the police radio and I heard that he was running up Oracle or running away from the cops, and even my My groundskeeper said the same thing, that he heard about that. Yeah, enough said. You can't. It's sad too. We want to be good people. We want to help our fellow man. But in this day and age, there are so many frightening people out there that could do anything to you at any moment. Now, I'm not trying to sound like an alarmist or anything. Of course, we're always going to go out and do our thing and whatnot. I'm not going to be a shut-in, and nobody here is going to be one. But it's common sense to think to just be on that narrative. Even like with homeless people around here, I give them some money sometimes. There was one that when we lived out west, out west near Saguaro National Park, there was a homeless guy that was in the Safeway there. I gave him money. I knew the construction site he worked at. I believed him because he'd mentioned it and stuff. He even felt guilty. Like I let him wash my windows one day. I didn't need it done, and he felt bad about it. And I said, I know you're trying to get back on your feet. I wanted to open a GoFundMe page for the guy. I just sadly, when I thought of the idea, unfortunately when I came back he was gone. Hopefully he got a job or somebody took him in or something like that, but he was one of the nicest guys I've ever spoken to out on the streets, and I wanted to start a GoFundMe page for him, but alas, I never saw him again.
Yeah, that sucks.
What were you going to say, Boku?
It's like you're talking about the things of violence and of all that type of stuff. The thing is, anyone is capable of it, but yeah, you could live in the nicest or worst neighborhood and always have the opposite effect. The worst neighborhoods could be the ones with the less crime. The nicer neighborhoods could be the one where the worst crime. I mean, I've even had weird things around here where luckily nothing has badly happened to me since me and the old roommate, as you know, had the person who randomly knocked on our door. We asked who it was, got no response, called the cops soon after, and they brought the searchlight out here. I mean, heck, that last time you guys were over, there was a search helicopter that morning from, I was up around 4 in the morning. It was searching around from 4 all the way till I think it was like 8 a.m.
Ew.
Searching around this area, just going around, and I knew that's what it was, because why would a helicopter be searching? Plus I saw the searchlight out early in the morning, and it's like stuff's everywhere, and it can just be bad. I mean, my thing is,
we got helicopters flying around sometimes, and so do you.
and this is the thing that I try to get at. Like for me, because I'll admit, very naive and a very nice person, but when I'm out there, I do not trust. Like, I have to get to know people to trust.
Boku wants to see the good in everybody. He really does. But unfortunately, it's just, he's learned a lot of things along the way about people. And, I feel bad about him. But the thing is that whereas one person we knew tried to shelter him, basically, Pikachu and I were trying to, get him ramped up so he didn't turn into like a complete pussy.
I'll tell you this from the perspective of a guy.
Hold on, he's not done talking. Go ahead.
Yeah, like it's for instance, like you mentioned the homeless problem. Not that I mistrust them or anything either, but the thing is, there's so many of them, too many of them, and basically how I feel about it is: 1, are you really homeless? 2, if I give you anything,
could be an
are you going to do something? Because I've talked with friends of mine at work, and they've been robbed by homeless people after they gave something to one person. 3 of them came out of nowhere and stole something off my friend because they said they just came out of nowhere, sort of held her up and took her stuff, and I'm like, that's fucking terrible.
It is.
And then there's like people I've been hearing where, once again, for the people who say they're quote-unquote homeless, where because they don't have to pay taxes, they're like making bank. I've had several Uber and Lyft drivers say, these homeless people have gotten into our car because we think they're not homeless because they have phones, and they're saying, well, we don't have a home, or we don't have this right now, we're going to get a dog, and we're going to get this, and then because they're drunk or they're rambling on, they've mentioned how, we have 20-something thousand, this something thousand. Like one guy said, there was this one weird guy who claimed to not have much, was going to get a dog, but said, I have 60,000 saved up in my advances. And I'm like, if homeless folks are making any of that much, 1, I don't mean to be rude, but fuck you. Because we're paying for you fucking assholes, for getting that much. And number 2, once again, if you have that type of ingenuity, get a fucking job and do something with your life.
Credit we're given, at least they saved.
Exactly.
At least they saved, so I'll give them that much. But here's the thing, though, also, and I agree, Boku, that I hate having people live off of my hard work and whatnot. I mean, welfare systems do need to exist in this country because everybody, when you're between jobs, if you don't save properly, sometimes you need a little help. Some people don't know how to save properly, but at the same token, though, they shouldn't be taken advantage of or used to live off of as an income when especially when you're perfectly able-bodied to work. A lot of homeless people do not pay taxes. Well, taxation's theft, basically. The ultimate line is that I pay them because I have no choice. If I didn't have to pay them, I don't think anybody would.
Nobody would, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's complete theft and it's bullshit, and a lot of it just goes to fill coffers of unnecessary things. Infrastructure is one thing that I'll agree to that needs to be done, but bottom line, though, is that a lot of it goes to useless programs like the EPA. Yes. But ultimately, it's just really sad. I mean, some people feel free without ownership or anything like that, Boku. That's another thing you have to keep in mind. I'm not defending it or saying that it's a great lifestyle, but at the same time, though, there are people out there that don't want that responsibility. There's people out there that just feel that living without a home or having any equity or anything of that nature is freedom to them. Some anarchists even go that far to doing it. But ultimately, though, a lot of them do it through dishonest means as well, and it's really, really sad. Like, they don't need the money, but they'll beg for it regardless. That's basically medicancy at its finest there, and it's really, really sad that people do that. But my dad kind of has a dream, like he wants to drive around in like a camper or something like that, and kind of cruise the country and whatnot, and live place to place. My mom doesn't want to do that because she likes settling down and visiting places occasionally, kind of like what Pikachu and I like to do. But Dad, on the other hand, worked his ass off to get to that point, to earn that living. 20 years in the military, 13 years as a professor, and then 10 years dealing Texas Hold'em, 13 years dealing Texas Hold'em. But he still earned all of it. He earned it through blood, sweat, and tears. Just like how we're earning our living. I know I'm not going to be as successful as my dad, but you find your successes in different steps, in different ways. So ultimately, I get why some people do it, and not all of them are dishonest, but you're right. There's a lot of people out there on the same token. I'm not defending being homeless. I don't want you to think you're spot on a lot of stuff, but sometimes some people, overall, there are some people out there that actually enjoy being homeless and they feel free, so keep that in mind too. But don't let it deteriorate from your standards, and don't let it deteriorate from the overall thing that, John Travolta said it best in Pulp Fiction. You don't have a home, equity to your name or anything, you're a bum, and that's what you pretty much will have.
Well, my thing is, if they have reasons and if they can't help themselves, I get it, but I think there should always be something in place. But like people tell me, folks don't trust the system, this and that, blah blah, and I'm like, yeah, I get that, but how many folks, like I said, are just, because I see a lot of people who claim they're homeless and with their signs, and they don't look that bad or that well off, or they do not look like a flipping grizzled veteran.
I said, amateur medicancy. That's what it comes down to there. So before Ardith has a heart attack, since he's been so patient, and I apologize, Boku hasn't really talked too much, so that's why I wanted to give him an opportunity, and I interrupted just for an interjection at that point. But what were you going to say? And after this, there's a little sports I want to discuss, and then we're done, but go ahead.
This is actually kind of an interesting one, because it kind of goes into why I like my friends Boku and Fox so much. Fox is kind of more
Pikachu sucks.
Pikachu's awesome, but I kind of like Fox because he reminds me more of what I became after I met him, a bit more of a realist, whereas Boku, when I first met him, was more of the hopeful optimist I used to be.
Exactly.
And I too was kind of worried that Jess would just manipulate him the whole time. And it kind of goes back to my upbringing, because I grew up in some of the worst neighborhoods, but I've also lived in some of the best suburbs in Tucson. And I can assure you, the most dangerous areas in town are the suburbs. All the people up there, they got money, but they also they're bad parents. Their kids are bored shitless.
South Tucson's pretty rough, but go ahead.
South Tucson's pretty rough, but honestly, I still think the suburbs are worse, because I used to live up by the Westover back when that was still the good neighborhood.
Oh wow!
every Sunday, all of the stop signs would have buckshot in them. Not the non-lethal, not the nice stuff. I'm talking the good shit.
Yikes.
The daddy makes good money and he buys the good military rounds, buckshot, that kind of shit.
Yikes.
And every Sunday when I'd go out to the SWAT meet, the police forensics team would be in the lot behind the SWAT meet, digging someone out of the ground every fucking week.
My God.
I had a friend.
Yeah, there were people floating in there alive. Like the Hudson River, East River, yeah.
My mom used to have a lady who, very nice-looking professional business lady, puffed up shoulders, good suit, all that shit. Her husband,
90s.
Yeah, but her husband, he basically drank himself into the ground, and he was abusing her and her kids. And her kids, they could have had a good life. I mean, her son Jamie, even in middle school, was being scouted by national recruits for the NFL. Oh, this kid wasn't just good. This kid was like Joe Montana mixed with Tiger Woods good. And,
go ahead.
But, she was the worst parent ever. So by the time he made it to high school, he got a girl knocked up. Drug addict, ruined his life, in jail. I think he's still there to this day. Her daughter, by the time I knew her, she was 13. I think I was like 8 at the time. She had already slept around with almost every kid and even a few of the adults in the whole neighborhood. Ew. 13, mind you. 13.
It's funny. It's funny you bring that up. A lot of people who are born into money, they say like you're perpetually bored. It ultimately depends on your personality. My folks took my brother and I on vacations a lot across the country. That's why I've seen so much for somebody my age and whatnot. But it's funny you bring that up because an old friend of mine that was a friend of my ex, she knew Orlando Bloom because she was a stand-in on Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers for one of the marching elves in that group, basically, that were marching to that to the what was the name of that?
Helm's Deep.
Helm's Deep. Yes, yeah, thank you. Sorry, it's been a while.
No,
and she and Orlando Bloom, I didn't believe it at first, but then Orlando actually took a selfie of himself and right away, and it had the timestamp and everything. I was like, oh wow, because like I was skeptical about it. Oh, yeah. They sexted. They sexted one another and stuff. Orlando Bloom she told me that Bloom was a very boring, not boring, but was a very bored person because he was basically, I mean, he just, once he got into wealth, all he could do was like act apparently, but he never really took the time to do a lot, so he was really bored. So then I'm like, didn't he have a girlfriend or something like that? But I guess, I don't know. I guess that was around the time where polyamorous was starting to come around. But I kind of found it amusing that had occurred there.
Well, it's funny because, I mean, you mentioned that, and it's like, people like him become adrenaline junkies, because if you ever watch the special features, he was always jumping off of quarries, like doing all the wild, amazing stuff. He would always ask the other actors to go with him, but they said, no, man, that's not sort of our thing. And it's like, he did it because he wanted to have the adrenaline. Plus, to what you said there, too, where people who sometimes rich do these things because they get bored and they're like, that terrible trio from Batman the Animated Series is the greatest example. Why'd you do it? Because we were bored!
Well, funny you mentioned Batman and that kind of behavior. No?
We're going to go off onto another tangent. I'm kind of wrapping things up. I apologize, but basically because we're kind of on a time frame of like 5 hours pretty soon, and I know you've got to leave early and stuff. 5 to 6 hours, one or the other. But the final thing I was going to say was basically that it's not because necessarily you're rich. I mean, like, I'm out of work right now and I've got a big nest egg right now. I'm not bored. I've got plenty to do, like I'm doing today. I'm going to have fun with my friends, role playing and watching Twin Peaks and whatnot, and we had tasty beverage to wash it down. But anyway, it ultimately depends on your personality. Just remember, don't scratch just on the surface. This is something I've told Pikachu a lot. Don't ever focus just on what the surface is. Go deeper in to figure out why it is. Look deeper than just the surface, because then if you just look at the surface, all you're going to do is you're going to look at one statistic as opposed to something deeper, and it depends on the circumstance. Well, just to close things up, Niners are going to the Super Bowl, baby! Yeah! Can't wait. February 2nd, and our buddy James is going to have things going on with that. And then, guess who's number one in basketball right now? and this is men's basketball.
I don't want to say anything because you told me already.
I
Is it
don't
the
know.
76ers?
It's not Gonzaga anymore.
No,
It's
college.
Oh.
It's Baylor.
Wow.
Baylor.
Baylor has only had one loss this year, and we only lost to them by 3
that's-
after we let them destroy us for a while.
That's
and we had
right.
a close loss. I gotta tell you, this is going to be a great March Madness. There's really nobody we can pick right now that could be a flat-out winner. I mean, we're going to have to see the bracket of 68. We'll do a video on it because I will have that day off before it starts and stuff. Unfortunately, I won't be able to take that time off for March Madness, but I'll live somehow. But it's going to, I mean, I'll be able to see it over the weekend. I'll be able to see the second round over the weekend. But I will tell you, this is going to be an exciting year of basketball in that tournament because March Madness is the best sport event. The tournaments, like the conference tournaments, are great, and then the March Madness, we're really looking forward to it. I don't really even have a Final Four right now, to be honest. Arizona was embarrassed in Oregon, like they got ripped the fuck off against Oregon, and then Oregon State completely dismantled and embarrassed them. But they still have to come down to Tucson. And I think it's going to be a different ball game, at least for the Oregon State game.
At least Arizona's won their last 2.
Yep, they beat Utah, who's the bottom feeder of the Pac-12, and they beat a ranked Colorado team who is overrated. They destroyed a ranked Colorado team who's overrated, but first ranked victory of the year, finally. That's something we could do last year, I'll give it that. But Arizona is going to climb. I'm kind of starting to see that they could have a potential to climb. The conference is still going to be tough because Stanford's actually pretty good right now. Don't let their unranked. They're 14-2 right now, so they're looking pretty good.
Yeah.
Washington, regardless of a few hiccups, that's not going to be an easy game. California could possibly pull off a few surprises. So this is going to be a wild. The USC and UCLA. USC is actually not that bad. UCLA, on the other hand, is pretty much slumping bad. I mean, if Notre Dame could beat them, then yeah. So this is going to be an interesting season. We'll see how well Arizona does. Notre Dame, on the other hand, if they make like maybe the NIT or something, that'd be nice. We'll just go for that. Arizona's women's team is currently 15-3.
Nice.
And they're ranked right now. Their losses were basically close. UCLA pretty much dismantled them, but Oregon and Oregon State, the number 2 and 3 teams in women's basketball at the time, they only lost by like 2 to 6 points to them, and that basically means that Arizona has hurdles to cross, but they're getting there. Adria Barnes, who came from a decent Washington team in the past, who was an assistant coach for them, she's a great coach. She's really, I think she could turn Arizona potentially into a powerhouse. That's how scary it is, how scary good she is. I mean, she's got some great recruits coming in next year, basically. And if Ari McDonald stays, because she's only a junior, if she stays for her senior year, we could have another great team next year. So. But anyway, we'll leave it at that there. So it was a good discussion, and unfortunately the tweets just turned out to be NPC, basically. Beep boop. We're just going to repeat everything that everybody says. Extremist. Diversity is our strength. Jerk off, yeah. So next time we'll see what's trending on Twitter. This is just something we're going to do with roundtable discussions. I guess we should probably do like a fun topic sort of thing. I'll tell you this. When I get my car back, I guess we'll have to come by another day this week, more than likely, since we've got all the time in the world, baby. So next time for a roundtable discussion, let's do something fun. What do you guys think?
I'm down with that.
Florida man. Yes, you
Let's
found
talk
out
about
funny-
topics there, Boku.
You found a funny thing recently too for Florida man.
Oh yeah, I bit off a guy's penis because he saw him having sex under a Dragon Ball Z blanket. Yeah, that was fucking hilarious.
You know what might be fun? You know what might be fun? Listing our favorite, least known Terabad comic book characters, because I know a bunch of them.
I don't even
I
know
don't
what the hell
even
you're
know what
talking
the hell
about.
that is.
Yeah,
I mean guys like Snowflame, the supervillain who
I
gets his powers from
don't
cocaine use.
stop, dude.
I don't know what you're talking
Dude,
about.
cut the nerd crap, really.
We don't know.
Holy shit. that gave me diabetes right there. Oh,
Sorry.
no, you're okay. I'm sorry.
Good thing there's no sugar in your Coke.
Oh God, that actually made me cringe. I'm sorry. Anyway, and yeah, I know I'm a geek myself, but I mean I can't geek out that far. Holy cow. Okay. Anyway, Florida Man is something we could do.
Florida Man. We could do some of those little quiz thingies.
That's true.
That shows how much.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, let's see how much white privilege we have next time. That does sound like a great idea.
I also have a gender traits personality test that we could all do. It's amusing actually. It has the things like, oh, if you're more tender, you put 1 to 7, which one?
All right,
and
so
different things.
We'll do that for one half. For the other half, I wanted to do something geeky, but something that we're aware of.
Yeah. Favorite X-Men? Or Marvel or something?
Favorite Marvel? Okay. Well, I mean,
you
we
could
kind
do a couple of those.
Yeah, we kind of
X-Men or favorite.
Well, we could rattle off a couple and a reason
Yeah.
and stuff. That's something. Yeah, I guess we could do that. So, well, that sounds like a great idea there.
I want to try taking the psychopath test.
Now, one thing we'll definitely do is when Twin Peaks is over, we're definitely going to have to do a review on that.
Oh yeah.
Another thing that will be coming forward is we're going to do Moonraker review. So that's another thing that we'll be doing.
I've never actually seen that yet.
And well, we're going to watch it first and
Yeah.
take notes and whatnot.
Yeah.
So don't you worry your pretty little head, Pikachu.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably after Moonraker, I wouldn't mind doing because I know we talked about it before, and I know we need to get going here, but like I said, Daniel Craig ones, I'm just like, I mean they're good, but man, I've realized everybody's right. I don't know what the hell they did with him, but.
And now that Pikachu's on the mic, congratulations to your boyfriend Dominic.
Yeah.
Thumbs up there, man.
Domahose.
Hey, Spectre was just trying to give Bond a bad case of the Thunderballs.
Well done.
Yes.
All right. So basically, I'm going to turn my speaker back on. So it's time to get to Twin Peaks after. So thanks a lot for listening to our boring rants and boring rants and whatnot. So this is Gray Fox 37.
223.
Howdy Doody times 76.
There you go.
Wow.
And 012 Boku. Hopefully we'll be less bored next time.
Well, no, I always just say that we're boring as a joke. I mean, some people I know will find us boring. Others, it's like whatever.
Well, actually, no. Topic did not really interest me.
I was going to say the topic didn't interest you?
Well, it did interest me. I just did not want to talk.
Because you were disgusted by it.
Themselves, I'm just like, I'm done.
This is Boku's passion at work. I get what you're saying now. Okay. The jaded lovers. But anyway, we'll talk to you guys later.